I've trained jiu-jitsu since 2016, served in the Army, and now run a business that helps BJJ gyms grow and that funds my training, travel, and future competitions. What most people don't realize is that jiu-jitsu and business are almost identical. And but it doesn't matter what rank you are. What matters is whether you produce results or not. In jiu-jitsu, the outcome is a submission, and in business, it's money. And thankfully, I found a way to overlap both. Let me explain how it works and how what I've learned on the mats made me better in business and made me find success in business and some success in jiu-jitsu as well. So, who am I? I've been training jiu-jitsu since 2016. I'm a brown belt now. I'm 23 years old, and I train under Chris Kim in South Korea. I'm also a U.S. Army veteran. I served for 4 years, went through a Special Forces selection attempt that didn't quite pan out, and now my full-time focus is just two things, which is jiu-jitsu and business. So what do? I run a business that helps and builds smart websites for jiu-jitsu gyms, MMA gyms, and other local businesses. Basically, we save them time, help them rank on Google with AI search, and automate the lead process. So when someone calls, book a free trial, they show up, and all that's manually or automatically taken care of on my end, and they get to save time, and I make them more money than I cost. So they get more students without wasting hours on tech or follow-up, and I've helped gyms grow their memberships or activate Google reviews, get them ranked higher on Google, and set up systems that bring in leads automatically, ultimately covering my minimum cost. That's kind of what I do just in a nutshell without getting too in the weeds. But the process to learning that, the last 2 years I was in the military, I studied marketing heavily because I didn't want to stay in. I didn't like the whole you get paid for your existence, whether you're productive for 2 hours or 17 hours, you get paid the same. Was not a big fan of that. So I wanted to find a way that was based on the output and outcome, not necessarily tied to the hours put into this thing. So that kind of got me towards, I'm going to help local businesses grow. And the reason I picked, web design, for example, was because, it's kind of like a good analogy would be like lawn care. Lawn care, you can mow your own lawn. You can do it. You can buy the tools. You can buy the software, not the software. You can buy the tools how to do it. You can take your Sunday, take those hours to go and do that once a month. But most business owners would rather outsource that or pay someone else to do it. And I'm that person, but it's like digital lawn care. The same things that can be used as an analogy to that would be for their website. They don't want to buy the software. They don't want to learn the skills to do it. And so I had to put, a year and a half of effort into learning these things and getting results, getting testimonials. And that majority of that inspiration was so I could train after. So I had to sacrifice 1 to 2 years of really intense progress, maybe training 2 or 3 times a week, putting jiu-jitsu on maintenance mode so that business can essentially bud and get results. I had to get results first with my agency. At the time, I still had a full-time Army job. I had 18 months left in my contract, 2 years to 18 months. And I wanted to find a way to make money irrelevant of the amount of time that I was necessarily spending. And granted, it's still a lot of work to get used to it. And during that year and a half, I really couldn't put that much time into jiu-jitsu, maybe towards you can think of it like a maintenance mode for jiu-jitsu. And that was quite frustrating for me. So I had to make a decision. Do I want to become better at jiu-jitsu faster or make enough money to fund training later? But now I can thankfully do that. The cool thing is the income from this business lets me fund my jiu-jitsu, my training, my travel, future competitions, and it's growing month after month. So I figured out a system there, thankfully. So I built my life around 2 things I care about most. And it works because business and jiu-jitsu are more alike than people realize. A big thing when you first start jiu-jitsu, you know absolutely nothing. You're in like an ignorance black hole, if you will. You just there's so much to learn, and it's quite frustrating in the beginning. When you keep iterating and keep learning, every mistake, every failure, every roll gives you more context to make a decision what to learn next. And as time passes, it's unreasonable to think you can't learn hard things. So jiu-jitsu started when I was 14. That taught me that. And it re-emphasized that fact. So when you go into business, it could take 2 years-ish. It could take more time than what you initially expect to become competent at something. But the good news is it's not like you have to be a black belt in business to make something profitable. You have to have the equivalent of like 2 stripes on your white belt, or maybe even a blue belt. Okay, we'll say blue belt. And that's like a bit relieving. And the outcome of learning jiu-jitsu is choking someone out or breaking their arm. And the outcome of business happens to be money. And money happens to be the prerequisite to everything you need so that you can train full time. And I kind of saw the path down that, like, oh man, I do want to become an athlete. I want to become a well-respected grappler one day in terms of my grappling skill alone. And money was a prerequisite, especially if you want to start a family and you have to be the top 1% of grapplers. If even that, jiu-jitsu is becoming so popular now that you kind of have to like find a way, either make a personal brand or become so good, i.e. like Gordon Ryan, Craig Jones, Josh Saunders, so that you can make enough money from your skill, which that definitely is a valid path. But you have to have that frame of achievement first. And I was like, man, that would be pretty tough. That would be really hard. I wonder if there's a way to make money and then grow into that frame or role if teaching was something you wanted to do. Yeah, and that was quite frustrating for 2 years not to be able to train as much as I'd want to, maybe 2 or 3 times a week. It was more maintenance mode. Now I'm back to training 5 times a week. I've been able to do that for the past 8 or 9 months or so. And yeah, I'm really excited. Like I have the diet that I want. I can train as much as I want. I can put as much time as I want to in jiu-jitsu, and it's not too hard to balance both. 2 inputs. I mean, the ideal scenario is your only input is grappling, right? If that's the main goal. But a second best situation is that you have something that doesn't require 12 hours a day, and you can still put in 5 to 6 hours of jiu-jitsu whenever you can. That time allotment is there, whether you're studying, drilling, training, positional rounds, etc., private lessons, traveling, driving. And the money to do that without that being a stressor has been really relieving for me. It takes longer than you would initially expect to be good. Even the fastest people in the world at jiu-jitsu take 3 years, 5 years to get there, brown belt, black belt. For me, given my distractions and Army, Special Forces, assessment and selection, that didn't quite pan out like I mentioned before. There's been things in the way that haven't allowed me to go from 14, 23. I haven't been like a straight path. I'm 14 to 18, solely focused on that. And that is, that could be a deterrent for me training really hard now, thinking like, 23, that's old in the jiu-jitsu world. But I don't think it's quite that old because there's other people in the world that have done really well and started their jiu-jitsu journey at 23. I would say I have a good foundation and a coach that I quite respect, and he's really good. And he orients and puts time into you and focuses your jiu-jitsu training in a good way. He nudges you when needed, but allows you to find your own path. And I think I have a lot to learn from him, at least for the next X plus years, right? And I'm diversifying my training between gi, no gi, different gyms in South Korea, and I'm also using online resources. So I think I have a pretty good base of learning. And then also in jiu-jitsu, there's parallels. In both, you either have the skill or you don't. It doesn't matter what belt you wear, what school you go to, or what you say. The mat doesn't lie, and neither does your bank account. So me personally, if I was so stressed with money that I couldn't train, I think, maybe sports psychology disagrees, but for me, I would rather have jiu-jitsu be a game that I play rather than be the source of income. I have to do this to make money. That was something I didn't want to quite do because you get one knee injury, it's kind of over. I'd rather just perform optimally and perform regardless of the outcome, and I think that'll, by definition, create a better outcome. If the outcome in jiu-jitsu is submission or relative skill level, the outcome in business is money, and money is the prerequisite to train, travel, compete, so I had to figure that out first. That was me personally, so I could function mentally, And then while I'm going to start posting videos here, I'm not here to act like I figured it all out, but I'm figured out enough to support myself doing exactly what I love. So I'm starting to post more about business, about jiu-jitsu, about how they overlap, about my travels, living in South Korea, traveling back to the States, whether that's for like a business conference or that's for training and competing over the next 5+ years. fitness training, becoming athletic, make sure that's not a constraint of my game. And here, I'm going to start posting more about business, like I said, about jiu-jitsu, about what I've learned, what I'm building, and how I'm trying to grow in both. I've got a long way to go in both, but I plan to be doing this for the next 10 plus years. If you're into either, both business, jiu-jitsu, gym growth, local business growth, or you just want to see where this goes, I think you'll like what's coming. Or you're just trying to build a life around what matters to you, I think we could relate on that. So, yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to cover in this video. Yeah, if you leave comments and just ask questions, I'd be happy to answer. I wasn't really hoping for like an outcome for this video. I plan on making probably like a video a day similar to this. Minorly edited. I don't want this to take up too much like bandwidth, I guess you could say. But I did want to start putting something out that just lets people know what's going on. What else do I want to talk about? No, that's it. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. And if you want me to expand on any of these concepts, leave a comment or message me, DM me on Instagram. Yeah, great to see you. Bye-bye.